Welcome back to Car Mechanic Simulator 2021. If you're enjoying this series or any other content on the channel, don't forget to drop a subscribe and ring the bell so you know when the next episode is out. So today, if you missed the first episode, we went through the tutorial. Today we are aiming to start our first story car. Now, story cars, I don't think they're massive money makers, but they're meant to just help you progress. We enter a garage for the first time and it is a mess. There's this old school bus, broken down by the looks of it. There is just junk everywhere. Hopefully, at some point, we get a chance to clear this out. We find ourselves a toolbox, and this is where we can upgrade our different skills via skill points, which happen by level. We gain experience by doing different cars. That's the second tool bench. We have our tyre changer, wheel balancer. We have a spring fixer there as well. Blocked off door, I'm assuming we can extend later on. That is our third toolbox. I don't know why we need so many toolboxes. Dartboard, not we can do anything with it. But yeah, 3 toolboxes so far. But once we get some XP and level up, we can then spend our skill points. You can do it to get discount on parts, increase the speed. We've got a vehicle detailing toolkit, and our 4th toolbox. I'm not sure why you need so many toolboxes. That's ridiculous. We have our computer where we can buy parts from. You can also purchase a tablet. I think it's 500 credits, and you can use that to save you having to keep going back and forth to the computer. But we need to go to the phone and retrieve our story car. Now the story car is a 1977 Luxor Baronne. Doesn't really say too much about what we need to do at this point. We have to accept it and then figure it out. There is another car there that we could also take if we wanted to. Now this car is dirty. We don't have a car wash, so we can't clean it. I've got no plans to clean it. It's going to cost you money. Later on, when we're more self-sufficient money-wise, we'll then look at doing a bit more above and beyond what we need to do. But it basically needs the tyres changing, the 2 brake pads, fuel pump, oil filter, all the fluids, and the oil changed. So there's a little bit of work, not massive, but a little bit. And it's generally the stuff we did in the tutorial, other than the oil filter. Now, as I said in the tutorial, if I can say the word properly, I'm not massively au fait with cars. So for me, this will be a learning curve. I need to find out where things are, try and remember. And this video, as you can see, is half an hour. Originally, I was trying to get the videos down to a lot shorter length. And I did look via the editing to see what I could take out of the video to really show what we need to do for the story car. There's not much I can take out, unfortunately. I don't want all the missions, the story missions, to be this long. And we'll speed up little parts. But in this episode, it's the first story car. So we'll kind of go through everything as much detail as we can. Now, first thing, we need to start by taking out the windscreen washer liquid. I do also know if you don't take out the liquids and you work on a part and the liquid spills because you haven't emptied it, you do get a penalty. So that is something to be aware of. But part of the job for this car was to take out all the fluids and replace. So power steering, reservoir, we need to drain that next. And then from there, I think we need to have a look at the brake servo liquid, I think. I'm still getting used to the controls. They're not bad, it just takes a little bit of time to get used to where things are. And obviously I'm not sure in the car where we're looking. So there we go, that's the brake servo. We can now drain that liquid as well. And obviously we don't want to refill any of these just yet, because we need to wait until we've fixed everything, just in case anything leaks. I want to avoid penalties where we can. Now, it did say an oil change, so we're going to lift the car up. See the lift going up there. Go across and grab our oil drain. And then I did encounter an issue. So when we first pressed the car to go up on the ramp, it didn't actually go up that high. It kind of put the ramp underneath the car, and that was it. So we need to do it twice. There we go. Now we can grab the oil drain, put it underneath the car. Now at this point I actually forgot that we don't need to find the oil plug to take out for them drain the oil. Yeah, this was my mistake. And this just shows my lack of knowledge when it comes to cars currently. Hopefully this will increase my knowledge as time goes on. Then I realised in the tutorial we just needed to press use the equipment. And out comes the old oil. Not very much in that car at all. Barely anything came out of that. Right, we can move that back. And that is oil changed. Obviously we haven't refilled it yet, but oil is changed. You're going to find a lot of the time I'm checking what the vehicle needs doing to it because I can't remember. I think a lot of it will become second nature. Pretty quickly. I think it will take a little bit of time to get used to it. I also found you can't find out what needs doing, as in the car job list, unless you're actually looking at the car. So we've drained all the liquids, that's good. So we need to change all 4 tyres, a round air filter, oil filter, 2 brake pads, and all the other tasks and the oil we just need to put back in. And we need a fuel pump. Now, we'll start with the tyres. My thinking was we do 1 tyre at a time. That way I can't forget what we've done. The other thing is, we only need to change 2 brake pads, but it doesn't tell us which 2. So we need to figure that out. Generally hovering over will sometimes tell you the percentage of the part, but if you take it off it will also tell you. You can sometimes see the corroded parts are generally parts that need replacing. And you can see the exhaust is corroded. Even the rims aren't brilliant, but it's not on the job list. Now later on, we will probably go above and beyond on cars, and everything that needs replacing, we will replace. But until we know financially that we can do that, we've got to just hold off a little bit. So we've taken off the front left and the front right tyres. Brake pads, I think they looked okay. But at this point we need to separate the tyres from the rims. We need to do this really before we buy new tyres. It doesn't take long, we just have to wait for it. There we go, 1 tyre done. But I kind of decided if we did the front in one go, I'll actually remember, because Nighthawk was still chatting to me whilst recording this, and he was saying how he put the wrong size tyres on the front and back sometimes, so you've got to be aware sometimes the tyres may be bigger or smaller on the rear or the front. And we have got a shopping list, and you can add parts to your shopping list, which does help. And I want to utilise the shopping list as much as possible. I think that's going to be our biggest time saver in terms of trying to find parts. So 2 tyres added. Trying to look at what size we need. Now the tyres are going to ask us, again, forgetting that we need to actually look at the car to actually do this. Pressing the wrong buttons. It's going to take a bit of time to get used to. It doesn't tell us what type of tyre, it's a standard tyre. And before we go and do the tyres, I just had a thought, let's have another check on these brake pads. And as you can see, they are red. Bottom left corner, it shows you how low they are. So we do need to change the front right brake pads. So we just need to unscrew the brake caliper, and then brake pads can be taken off. There's nothing holding them in, they just come off. That is done. In theory, if it was our car, or was going a little bit above and beyond, we would probably take off the brake pad as well. Not the brake pad, the brake disc. And again, the second brake pad on the front left is looking very bad as well. It's in the red, so that needs replacing. So they're the 2 brake pads we actually needed to replace. We've already found them. We just need to add those to a shopping list. We could replace the calipers, but they're not part of the job currently. So again, going above and beyond, I don't know if you actually gain anything massive from it in terms of bonuses or anything. So we're not, at this point, money is tight. So we need to find the tyres. We're in the tyre shop now, and we can use a shopping list that gives us a tyre. Now, I had an issue with this. So the order it gives you for the tyre information on your shopping list or in the tyre itself is in a different order to what it says on the screen. So I had to try and figure out what it all meant. To me, a tyre's a tyre. Like I say, motorbikes are more my thing. They only have 2 tyres. The car has 4. It's a little bit more difficult to figure out. So it did take me a couple of minutes just to make a note of what tyres I needed. And as you can see the numbers, there's a 215, there's a 75R and a 15. And that's a different order. I actually made a note of this so I could remember when I went into the shop. But that's a different order to what it comes up in the shop itself. So we need to just remember the order is actually size is a 15 inch. Without looking at it, I can't actually remember now. It will come up in a second. But yeah, this was me. I just had to make a note of the numbers just so I could remember. And this is probably something I'll have to do throughout the game, is make little notes as I go just to remember certain parts, certain numbers. So we need two sizes of 15, and the width. Got to remember that is as well. This was me just having, because we couldn't change the width, and it's because you have to change certain things in a certain order to get certain sizes. So the width was a 215, so 215 inches wide, and our profile was 75R, which I'm assuming 75R is 75 regular. I would assume you can go up to sport. But yeah, this is the first time I've actually had this in terms of trying to get the right size tyres. Obviously you don't want to go wrong. And it was tricky. Once you get used to it, I think it'd be quite simple. So now we can up at 215 width. So the 215 75R 15 tyres equates to a 15 215 75. So the order's slightly different. But now we know that, we know to keep an eye on that. I kind of roughly know what numbers I'm looking for. It's all these little learning curves you need to make in the game itself. I didn't mean to back out the shop. So we need to go back to car parts now, because brake pads won't be in the wheel section for tyres. And we need to find two brake pads. These are fairly simple, they're one type. And there we go, two brake pads. Back to the car. So now we can put the wheels together in the wheel changer, or tyre changer. I call them wheels, they're tyres, same thing. It's just Americanised in English, really. Rims we could have bought new ones, but again, at this point I just think it's a waste of money. We're trying to make as much profit as possible to upgrade, get more jobs in, do better. At this point we can put the next tyre on to it be installed, the rim and the standard tyre with the sport, and we can go to the wheel balancer and do the first wheel while that's doing the tyre. So balance the first wheel. All of it just takes time to get used to. I think in later videos some of the basic mundane jobs will probably speed up a little bit. I don't want to miss anything out, but I don't mind speeding up a little bit. Just so the videos aren't too long, but at the same time you still see everything we do. And we just need to balance the second wheel, and they are done. So with our brand new brake pads and our two new wheels, we can actually do the front wheels of the car. So front right first. So you mount the part, brake pad first. That will be our brand new one. We need to put on the brake caliper, which needs to be combined with the caliper cylinder. Do it up, and then our wheel can go on. Yes, camera angle can be a bit tricky at times. Sometimes we're just a little bit too close to it, so we need to back out and then come back in. The other thing as well, on PC when you play this, you actually have to manually click on all the screws and the bolts to undo and do up. On PlayStation you don't, and that's something I was worried about coming into this, because trying to find the little white circle for the cursor can be difficult. But if we don't have to do it on every single screw, that's a massive bonus, and I think that's where the improvement for PlayStation has made a massive difference to how the game plays. So new brake disc on, brake pad on. Brake calipers put back on. Again, they're no good, but they didn't need changing according to the job spec. I don't know how much of a bonus you get for going above and beyond. If anyone does know and plays the game themselves, please let me know in the comments. Because if it is something we need to be going above and beyond on, we will. Right, just to check, 2 brake pads have been done and 2 tyres have been done as well. So we need 2 more tyres, no more brakes to deal with, it's just tyres. So we've got 2 rear tyres to do, and then we've got to find the oil filter, the air filter and the fuel pump. So we might as well start with taking off the tyres. Let's the easiest thing to start with, I believe. And that is the left rear off. Don't need to worry about the brake discs. Again, it's not on the job list. They definitely need changing. I'm looking at the state of them. And we've got some screws here, bolts that will not come undone, wheel nuts, they should be called really. Bit of WD-40 there. A little bit of a spray just to get them loosened. And out they come. This car is from 1977. I'm not surprised, it's in a little bit of a rough shape. Right, we need to take these wheels off, the tyres off the rims, and then we can go and buy 2 new ones. What I did, which I didn't do the first time round, is actually go to the computer. I was going to go to the computer to buy the new tyre while that was taking it off. But I can't think why I didn't. I got halfway there and thought, no, I'll just go and do the tyres, which seemed a bit pointless. This is where a tablet would make sense, because we could actually buy while stood here, and then we wouldn't have to worry about going back and forth. And that will come. It's about 500 credits, and at this minute I couldn't risk it so early on. Nighthawk said to me in his game he had made a mistake because he upgraded lots of things financially early on and then struggled for money to actually repair cars. I didn't want to make the same mistake. And the reason I didn't actually go and buy the tyres while they were the first ones being taken off was because I didn't know if they were a different size. Nighthawk had warned me they may be. They're not. They're the exact same size front and back. Because I wasn't sure, I didn't want to go and buy tyres and get it wrong. It's an expensive mistake if you do get it wrong. I don't know, selling price wise, whether you'd get the same price you paid if they're new, but I didn't want to risk it, so we didn't. We waited. 340 credits for 2. That is 2 brand new tyres. You'll see the start menu come up a couple of times. If you press back too many times, and you don't mean to, that brings up the pause menu. So we need to go and get these fitted. And at this point I forgot I hadn't put the tyres on the rims. You'll see now that I went to install them and I don't have the necessary parts. I realised very quickly I bought the tyres but hadn't added them back to the rims. But there we go. So the rims now, brand new tyres. They do look brand new and shiny as well compared to what we took off. You can definitely see the difference. The attention to detail is really impressive. So the first tyre done on the rear. Second one needs to be installed. And we'll go for the balancer while we're here. While the second one is being put together. This one needs to be done 3 times, so it's definitely out of balance. Whereas the others previously only were done twice. There we go, that tyre's balanced. One more to do, we'll take it off the tyre changer. Back onto the balancer. And off we go. 0.2 this time, so this one is a lot better balanced than the first one. Not sure how that works, I'm assuming that's just a random occasion. And at this point we actually gain our first trophy of the game. We gained the Vulcanizer trophy, which is to balance 5 tyres. Nice simple trophy. A lot of the trophies are quite simple and will happen naturally. Some of them are a bit grindy. I think there's one for setting like 1,000 cars. That will take time. Because currently we're not selling any cars because we're doing his orders on behalf of someone else. So there is things that will take time. But that is the first rear tyre back on. And we go to the other side and put this on. Remember, this is the story car, so we're trying to make sure we don't make any mistakes. That's the big thing here. And the fun part is next. This is finding parts that I've no clue where they normally would sit on a car. This is the fun part. So we need the air cylinder, the air filter, sorry, from the front, which is right, we can see it there straight away. It's the round air filter. I do try and take it off, and it won't let me. Now, it won't allow you to take parts off if there's something stopping it, and the cover is actually stopping it. Something nice and simple that I didn't even realise. But I like the fact you can't just take it out for no reason, you have to actually take other parts out first. That is the air filter. That is one of the things we need to do. Right, we're now looking for 2 other parts. Back to the shopping list, the job list again. We're looking for the fuel pump and oil filter. We've currently taken out the round air filter. So I don't know where these are. We've got to kind of search the car for them. I'm assuming engine place. I'm just trying to get something to kind of show up. It will take, once we start learning where things are, life will become a lot easier. Now, that's the starter motor. That's definitely not it. That is the fuel filter. Now, I'm going to take this off. It's not until later I actually realised my mistake. I didn't need to change the fuel filter. Right, but we've also found an oil filter. We're just checking the job list again. So oil filter needs to come off. I've taken off the fuel filter, and actually I needed to change the fuel pump. This is where my lack of knowledge comes in. We can't actually take the filter off for the oil because it needs to be done from underneath. So underneath the car, we should be able to find this now. Just trying to get your angles right so you can actually view what you need to view. I can see it, it's at the back there. We just got to get to an angle so we can take it off. There we go. And off it comes, oil filter. So we think at this point we've taken off the 3 parts we need to take off and we need to replace. But as I say, I've made a mistake, and it wasn't until a little bit on that I realised I didn't need to take the fuel filter off. I'll add it to a shopping list at this point because I still don't realise. It's surprising what you kind of miss and you don't think about until you're busy doing it. Now I record all of these and then I voice over afterwards. I was thinking of doing live voice, but because I want to edit, speed little bits up that may be a bit boring, I've gone for this approach. I think when we may do certain things, I might do live recording. But at the minute I'm watching back and explaining what we did, as I think that's probably the best way of doing this. So I'm kind of a little bit confused here. And the reason is the fuel pump. That is causing me this amount of confusion. Because I know that that's not right. That's a fuel filter, not a fuel pump. First major error of our mechanical career. And this is what I'm just trying to work out what I've done wrong. We're now looking for the fuel filter, and I actually had no clue. The fuel pump, sorry. I couldn't think where a fuel tank was on a car. I don't know, it's simple. For those that drive cars, you probably know your fuel tank is in the back. I, for some reason, couldn't think of this to save my life. I don't know why. But there we go. We found the fuel tank now. It's in the rear of the car, near the rear axle. And in the middle of that should be the fuel filter. You can just see it sticking out. There we go. Fuel pump. It's the fuel filter. It's wrong. That is the fuel pump we need to take off. So we finally found the part. Now at this point I'm thinking, I better put the other part back on. And I'm just double check. I've just got to find out how I can get to that point. It's just working out your camera angles. That won't be the last mistake we make on any car. There are certain parts that are so small and difficult to find. You're going to make these mistakes. It's just trial and error as you go along. So we added the fuel pump to the shopping list. We now need to go buy the parts. I'm just trying to put the fuel filter back on, just so I don't forget where it lives. You can see that all the rustiness. So if we were really doing this car up, all that rust would be replaced. We'd have to buy new parts. So that's our filter. We don't want to put that back on because we haven't actually bought the new one yet. It's trying to get the angle on the camera to go high enough to be able to put this part back on. I know where it is, I'm just trying to get the angle there. It's literally above where I am now. I just can't seem to get the angle to work to allow us to put it back. A little bit annoying. And it's probably because we're below the engine and we can put this back on from above. That does cause you an issue in terms of how you're looking and how you're doing certain parts. But it is just because we're below, not above. But onto the computer, onto our shopping list in the car parts, and we can now buy the parts we need. Now I did mean to take the tyres and the brake pads out of the shopping list so I didn't confuse myself. I'm trying to do things in a methodical way to make our life easier. And this is why I had a stumbling block. I hadn't taken the one we didn't need off the shopping list, and now I've confused myself once more. So I need to double check that I don't buy a part we don't actually need. That's the big thing there. It's just making sure we don't buy something we don't need. So the oil filter we do need, the fuel pump we need, the round air filter we need, but it's the fuel filter I've got to ignore. And that's the big thing. So that's our brand new oil filter. Round air filter. There we go. So all that adding up in terms of credits. We started with 4,000 credits. And we'll work out at the end how much we spent. And we have all the new parts. We can also sell the old parts. They're not worth a massive amount, but we can sell them. So that's something. So first things first, we'll put on the fuel pump, the brand new one we just bought. Just got to keep remembering to mount part rather than take part off. Fuel pump goes on. Definitely tell the change in colour, can't you? The last one was horrible. Next, we need to put back on the oil filter, which I believe we can only take off from below. So that little hole there, that is where it goes. Now you can actually see where the fuel filter was that we took off accidentally. We can actually see the area, which we'll just go and put back on now. It doesn't let us. So because we're underneath the car, we cannot put it back on. We need it to be underneath to do the oil filter. So there's two parts to put back on, or three if you want to include the cover. So onto the engine mount parts. We'll put the fuel filter on first. We never needed to take it off. It was a little bit of extra work we didn't need to do. Later on into the game, I know you can rebuild whole engines. You take parts of them off. Gearboxes, a lot. You can tune cars and things like that. There's so much to do in depth. It's all going to take time. There we go, our cover is back on. So that is every part replaced that needed replacing on our jobs list. Again, like I say, there's loads of parts we could have spent money replacing. But I don't want to waste money at this point without knowing the benefits. So we just need to refill the liquids. Starting with the brake servo liquid. And again, I didn't really stop. I let it overflow. You don't get penalised for that, and the liquids do cost you money. We don't get penalised for the little bit of overflow. Luckily, I need to get that a little bit better. We need to refill the oil. We drained it earlier. I think a matter of course, whenever you're working on any sort of engine, you need to drain all the fluids. I think that's the safest way of not getting a penalty. I think the penalty is about 50 credits, which will start adding up if you're not careful. And also, something we need to learn is every car layout is different, depending on the make of the car. So we will soon get used to certain cars, and others will still need to learn where things are. The electric cars are a completely different kettle of fish. Windscreen washer reservoir needs refilling. Nice blue liquid in there. And we need one more liquid to go after this. And that is the power steering fluid. And in it goes. I like how you see them fill up as well. I stopped a little bit early there. It kind of fills up twice. There we go. Is that enough? There we go. Perfect. I believe the car is finished. Lower the hood as the sign of you've finished the car, and we'll go and have a look at the car status. So we've changed everything on the list: tyres, air filter, oil filter, fuel pump, brake pads ×2. That is done. We have changed the oil, drained the old and refilled with new. We've done the brake fluid, power steering fluid, and the washer fluid. And that is job done. Well, before we actually settled the job, I wanted to sell the parts that are no good. So these are all the parts we took off and replaced. It'd be nice to get some money back. So we can sell every part that's under 30%. I was a bit unsure, higher percentage, lower percentage, should we keep bits or not keep bits? But actually at this point we can't repair anything ourselves. So if we can't repair them, we may as well sell them. We haven't really got the storage. So there we go, we sold them all. And that one, it's just so I could work out roughly how much profit we made, to be honest. I thought it was definitely worth selling them before we went too far. The other thing we've got to make sure we do before we do any car, the next car, or between cars, we need to make sure we clear our shopping list. Now, so if you remember, we actually had 4,000 credits. I want to say pounds, it's just a little bit easier. So £4,000 at the start of today's video. We've spent £929 on parts, and we made a profit of £1,343. Not bad for a first story car. And that is it for today. First story car done. A couple of new things. Finding parts was a bit difficult, but we managed to do it in the end. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to not miss an episode, or if you enjoy any other content on the channel. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.